Hello and welcome to the podcast. This is Ron's Amazing Stories, where we play tales to take you away from today. And from today we go.
All aboard!
We travel into the distant past as the people of Seattle learn what they must do the night of December 7th, 1941. We also have a story about a ghost who just wants to watch TV and a story of a man who just wants to kill the beast. Add to this, we have our first story, which is of the 5-minute variety. I hope you enjoy it.
Another 5-minute mystery.
This 5-minute mystery is being brought to you by Ron's Amazing Stories, the podcast where we play stories so you don't have to. That's stories for you, about you, and by you. To find a service like this anywhere else, you'd have to pay big dollars. Here at Ron's Amazing Stories, we do it for free. You heard it here first. Free.
Hello?
Hello, Coroner. This is Sheriff Slade.
Oh, yes, Sheriff. What can I do for you?
Seems there's been some excitement out at the X-Bar Dude Ranch. One of them dude vacations is dead as a coyote.
Okay, Sheriff. I'll meet you out there in about a half an hour.
Right?
Well, here's the sheriff now. Hiya, Sheriff.
Howdy, Dan. Having some trouble out here?
Yeah, I reckon it's not going to be any too good for my business either. One of the guests up and got herself killed.
Where's the body, Dan?
All right in the house here. Fella named Vaughn Calder. That's her husband. He's inside with her. Oh. Hey, it's howdy, Mr. Calder. It's Sheriff Slade in the corner.
How do you do, gentlemen?
Hate to bother you like this, Mr. Calder. We'll just have to ask a couple of questions.
Go right ahead, Sheriff. I'm rather broken up, but I'll try to be of some help.
Vaughn, I just heard. I'm so terribly sorry. But maybe it's for the... Oh, I didn't know that.
That's all right, Nora. This is Sheriff Slade in the coroner. This is Nora Bradley, gentlemen.
Any relation to you, Mr. Calder?
Why, no, we're going to be married, that's all.
Then I reckon you and your wife weren't hitting it off so well.
There's no use my hiding anything. We weren't hitting it off. She'd known about Nora and me for some time now. I'd asked her a dozen times for a divorce. She wouldn't give it to me. But I wouldn't have had anything like this happen. I didn't hate her.
How did she die, Mr. Calder?
She was bitten by a rattlesnake. You can see the little hole in her arm.
Will you take a look at the body, Coroner?
Sure.
Go on, Mr. Calder.
We were out riding this morning. We'd gotten off the horses to rest for a while. I had my back turned to her for a few moments as I tied the horses to a tree. I heard her scream. I turned around, and there was a large rattlesnake a few feet away from her, poised to strike. I saw the fangs shoot out from its mouth and plunge into her arm. It was horrible.
Then what happened?
Well, we were only 10 minutes from the ranch. I got her back here as fast as I could. She was dead when I arrived.
What's your report, Coroner?
Everything's as he says, Sheriff. Small puncture in the left forearm, accompanied by large swelling of the surrounding tissue. She died of rattlesnake poison, all right.
But not by a rattlesnake.
I don't get you, Sheriff.
You've had a murder on your ranch. Vaughn Calder murdered his wife.
Have you found the clues that led the sheriff to accuse Vaughn Calder of murder? The solution in a moment. But first...
Okay, let's take a look at this one. I think that 1 plays a very big role here. After all, 1 is the loneliest number, and I'll bet that even snakes think so too. Try biting an apple with 1 tooth sometime. Pretty rough. Now, let's head back and see if I'm right. Oh, and by the way, Ron's Amazing Stories presenting this 5-minute mystery, and we're doing it for free.
And now, back to our story.
What are you trying to do? The coroner just told you she died of rattlesnake poison.
There's no doubt about that, Calder. But it weren't administered by a rattlesnake. You injected poisonous venom into your wife's arm with a hypodermic needle, then watched her die a slow, painful death. And like most people, you don't know much about snakes, Calder. That evil-looking thing that the snake shoots from its mouth is not a fang. That's just the tongue. Every snake has that, poisonous or non-poisonous. But the real fangs, and I said fangs, plural, are 2 long teeth in the forward part of the mouth, which are never seen. If she'd been bitten by a real rattler, she'd have 2 punctures instead of 1. See
what I mean? One bite needs two fangs. It just doesn't work any other way. This 5-Minute Mystery was brought to you by Ron's Amazing Stories, the podcast where we play stories so you don't have to. That's stories for you, about you, and by you. Here at Ron's Amazing Stories, we do it for free. So support your RAS today. Well, guys, this time you did the talking. In response to last week's story, The Fairy of Inverness, 4 of you wrote in and said that you've heard that story before. In all cases, it was a tale told to you by a mom or dad. I find that pretty interesting because the presenter, Rebecca Macklin, said the same thing. So, is this story true or not? I guess in my book it hardly matters much because it has such a good lesson to teach. And like Rebecca said in her presentation, it's easier to teach with stories than with lectures. Thank you for all the feedback on this. I loved to hear from you all. An update on the Horror Express. Jason and I have decided that the next show will be a continuation of the haunted dolls topic. We have some new information to pass along and a couple more amazing stories. In addition to the doll discussion, Jason is working on a very special guest that you just won't want to miss. The timeline for this seems to be on track. I received an email from John D. He wanted me to know that Ron's Amazing Stories does not come up when you do a Google search. That has already been fixed, and it does work now. I knew this would be a temporary problem when I dropped my WordPress provider and moved the domain to Libsyn. It took a couple days for the name servers to start tracking it properly again. For the record, the domain always worked. It was just the search engines that didn't see it. Thanks for the heads up, though. Jane Reynolds correctly noticed that I'm still on WordPress. The blog is on WordPress.com, but the main website, Ron'sAmazingStories.com, is no longer a WordPress site. I hope that clears that up. And finally, we are testing a brand new segment this week. It is called A Moment in Time. Basically, I will present an OTR news report, give a short background of where and when, and that's it. Now, I love listening to these old broadcasts because they can transport you back to a time and let you live what it was like way back then. We will present the first installation after our OTR story. The OTR story for this episode of Ron's Amazing Stories will keep you guessing until the very last moment. That is, if you've never heard this story before. The story is called The Beast Must Die. It is based on the 1938 novel written by Nicholas Blake. You might know him better under his pen name, Cecil Day-Lewis, and of course, by his famous son, Daniel Day-Lewis. The story is about a man seeking revenge for the death of his son in a hit-and-run car accident. The Beast Must Die stars Herbert Marshall, comes from the series Suspense, and first aired on July 13th, 1944.
Roma Wines present Suspense. Roma Wines. Made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. Salud.
Your health, senor.
Roma Wines toast the world. The wine for your table is Roma Wine. Made in California for enjoyment throughout the world.
The Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California, welcomes you again to this weekly half hour of Suspense. Tonight from Hollywood, Roma Wines bring you a star, Mr. Herbert Marshall. Mr. Marshall is with us to play in Nicholas Blake's powerful story of vengeance and retribution. The Beast Must Die. But before we raise the curtain on tonight's tale of suspense, here is a message from Roma Wines.
In Havana, Cuba, One gathering place of fashionable people is the charming Pan American Club. A dinner party is in progress, and the Cuban host has risen to return a compliment which has just been paid him by a guest from the United States. Lifting his glass, he says, "Thank you, my friend. Thank you also for telling us about the perfect climate and soil of California, from which we import these supremely delightful Roma wines. Now we can understand how such perfection is possible, such magnificent quality as we enjoy in Roma wines. You will agree it is a tremendous tribute when other countries find Roma wines so superior they import them as rare and expensive delicacies. Such international esteem can only mean that Roma wines are truly magnificent in quality. But remember, you here in the United States can enjoy these distinguished wines at almost unbelievably low cost. For you pay no high import duties, no expensive shipping costs. You enjoy the unique combination which makes Roma wines so superlatively fine, the combination of California's perfect soil and climate, and age-old wine-making skill, plus Roma's modern quality controls, for only pennies a glass. Discover the delightful flavor and goodness which have made Roma wines America's largest-selling wines. Ask for R-O-M-A, Roma wines, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world.
And now, with The Beast Must Die, and with the performance of Herbert Marshall as Felix Lane, who wrote a diary of death, we again hope to keep you in suspense.
I am going to kill a man. I don't know his name. I don't know where he lives. I have no idea what he looks like. But I'm going to find him and kill him.
Well, Mr. Lane?
I wrote those words, if that's what you're asking, Inspector. And I meant them.
Apparently you did. Whatever possessed you to write such a document?
Vanity, for one thing, I suppose. A record for posterity of the perfect crime. As you know, I'm a writer by profession. I think more clearly on paper. By keeping this diary, I was able to plan my murder step by step. Details, little things that happened in the course of a day which might so easily have been forgotten or overlooked, were written down in this diary, where I could refer back to them and make use of them if need be.
But you found out that a real-life murder could not be carried out so easily as the murders you wrote about in your detective novels, eh, Mr. Lane?
I wouldn't go so far as to say that, Inspector. In fact, except for the ending, I think this diary is quite the best murder story I've ever written.
And quite the most incriminating document I've ever known a prospective murderer to leave lying around.
Incriminating? In a way, I suppose. In another way, this diary might turn out to be my best defense.
How do you figure that, Mr. Lane?
Well, supposing I read some parts of it aloud to you and let you decide for yourself.
Very well, Mr. Lane. Fire away.
That was my first entry. June 18th. Yes, I'm going to kill a man. It takes great singleness of purpose to commit a murder. But if ever for a moment I stray from that purpose, I've only to think of Ronnie. Ronnie was my son. One evening 2 weeks ago, he was crossing the road outside our house. He had gone into the village to buy some candy. For him, it could have been only a paralyzing blaze of headlights around the corner, a moment's nightmare, and then the impact turning everything to darkness forever. His body was hurled into the ditch. He was dead at once. The motorist who killed Ronnie did not stop. The police have failed to trace him. They say he must have been going 50 around that blind corner for the child's body to have been thrown and injured as it was. The man who drove that car, he is the man I have got to find and kill. June 25th. I found my first clue today. My mind was on Ronnie. I was driving toward a neighboring town. The hills around were green. The boxwood hedges, still damp from last night's rain, translucent like giant chunks of emerald. Suddenly, the front wheels of my car hit into a great puddle. A sheet of water splashed up over the front of the windshield and drenched me from the side. I pulled up at the far side of the water splash. I got out, cursing myself for my preoccupation, and began mopping away at the windshield. A man leaning over a farm gate addressed me.
Well, looks like you got a proper shower bath, mister.
Yes.
Been pestering the county for months to repair that hole. People always driving into it, splashing themselves all over. Funniest thing of all, though, was about a fortnight ago when a chap tried to use it to get a free car wash.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was my wife's birthday, to be exact. About 8 o'clock, we was on our way to Cheltenham to see the picture show. Just coming out of the gate, this chap driving one of those low-slung sports jobs hits the water splash.
You don't say.
Ah. And then the fella says something to the girl he's driving with. What do you suppose they do? They back up and run through the splash again. And then again. They did it 4 times.
8 o'clock. Your wife's birthday, it wouldn't be June 3rd, would it?
All right, yeah. But how'd you know?
Oh, well, you see, a friend of mine was celebrating that night. And he was driving toward...
Seven Bridge. That's where this fella and his lady friend were going. I remember his lady friend says, George, ask the man whether you turn to the right or to the left at the next fork.
George, yes, that's right. That's my pal's name. And, Seven Bridge, yes. Yes. The way he drives ought to have brought him here by just around 8 o'clock. He didn't have a crumpled right front fender, did he?
Oh, that he did. And that bloke was your friend. He sure is a proper nut. Well, peculiar, at least.
Yes. Yes, he is peculiar.
Driving through that water splash all over again and again. 4 times he does it. He wasn't laughing either. Didn't seem like a joke somehow. Looks like he's trying to get a free car wash. Funny way I'd say to get the mud off.
Yes.
Maybe it was tar, though, huh?
Yes. Or blood. July 12th. At Seven Bridge. Have talked to any number of the town's people, and I've met a number of Georges. But not one of them have owned or driven a low-slung sports job. Not like the one I've been looking for anyway. It may be that I have to start all over again. On some other tack. I was returning to the inn this afternoon when I noticed a car parked on the side of the road up ahead. A girl with bright hair was working at the rear wheel, and a small lad beside her was doing his best to help. I pulled up beside them. It was a long, low-slung sport job. I say, can I help?
Well, what do you think, Phil?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, if you would lend a hand. I'm afraid we're not quite heavy enough to weight the jack handle down for another turn.
Now, here, fella, let me have a go at it. I say, the paint doesn't seem quite to match on the right front fender.
The fender? Oh, Dad had a new fender put on a while back. It's got bunged up or something.
I can't tell you how awfully nice it is of you to help us out.
Not at all. By the way, I wonder if you and Phil here wouldn't stop for tea with me at the inn afterwards. It's not far, you know.
We're expected at home, sir. Perhaps you could come along with us. What do you do, sir?
Why, I'm a writer, Phil.
Oh, you really must come to see us. It's Gables on Devon Road, my brother-in-law's place. The name's Rattery. We'll give you a ring tomorrow and set a date. Sis will love meeting a real author, and so will George.
Did you say your brother-in-law's name is George? July 16th. I've met him. I've spent an evening talking to him. George Rattery.
So you're a friend of Lena's, eh? Storybook detective. A writer. Easy enough to write about a dead body, but I'd like to see an author that had guts enough to look at one.
I had been more than a little afraid that George might turn out to be a sympathetic character. That need not concern me any longer. I shall have no compunction at all about putting his light out. It appears that George is the half-owner of a garage down in town. A man by the name of Carfax is the other partner. A garage. That would explain how the damaged fender got itself fixed without the police knowing. Oh, how can a beast like George have a fine young son like Phil? This afternoon, I was rounding the corner of the tea house in the Rattery's garden when I heard voices. It was Lena and George. I stopped in my tracks and eavesdropped shamelessly.
It's a neat rig you're wearing today, Lena. Is that for Felix Lane's benefit?
Oh, save your compliments for that Carfax woman.
Jealous.
Don't make me laugh. But someday you're going to find out that business partner of yours isn't as mild as he looks. I wonder what he'd say if he knew that his wife was...
Shut up, will you? And since when did you get so high and mighty? It wasn't so long ago that you yourself were glad enough to...
If you ever open your mouth about any of that, I swear I'll kill you.
Talking big now, aren't we, Miss Snow White?
Just try something and you'll find out. Remember, there are quite a few people who might like to know about that poor kid you ran down last June. If it weren't for Violet and Phil, I'd...
Stop that kind of talk. You hear? Just remember you were with me that night. Huh?
August 5th. Had a look around the Rattery Carfax garage this afternoon. Told George it might come in useful as material in my book. All at once I heard a shot, and there stood George blazing away over the plot in back with a rifle. I went up to him.
There. That's another one of the pests out of the way. We've tried everything. Traps, poisons, rat hunts. We can't keep them down.
That's a nice rifle.
Yeah. Gave it to Phil when he came back from school in Switzerland. Much too good for him. Here, I'd like to have a go at him.
I raised the rifle and sighted. George's back was to me. By shifting a few inches to the right, the bullet should enter the base of the brain. Who could prove that George hadn't suddenly stepped in my way? My finger tightened on the trigger.
I say, George, I can't find that new tin of rat poison. Phil was spreading some out in the dump yesterday. I wonder where he put it. Oh, hello there, Lane.
Hello, Carfax.
Hey, watch out where you're pointing that gun. We wouldn't want anything to happen to the senior partner, eh?
Not very funny.
I am now a guest in the house of the man I am going to kill. Violet, Phil's mother, suggested that I come and stay with them for a fortnight and help Phil in odd hours with his Latin. George, much to my surprise, joined in heartily with the idea. I wonder why. I must watch him very closely because of what happened last night. We were having coffee in the drawing room after dinner when the conversation took a most extraordinary turn. They were talking about Violet's new rose bushes.
I suppose they'll be very nice, but I can't for the life of me see why you went to all that trouble.
Well, the old ones weren't doing very well.
They were still alive, weren't they, Mother?
Oh, yes, dear, but I'm not one to keep something going when it's only half alive.
Oh, I'm glad you're talking about rose bushes. I should hate to think you felt that way about people.
Of course not. But, on the other hand, I do think if a person were incurably ill that they ought to... Well, that is, they ought to have the right to ask their doctor to put them out of their misery. Don't you think so, Felix? Speaking of doctors reminds me, George, don't forget your tonic. Doctor said after every meal.
Tonic. Oh, pass it here. Yeah. Foul stuff, bitter as gall, poison.
That won't kill you, George.
Felix, would you really be in favor of doing away with all unfortunates?
Well, what about your incurable social pest? The person who makes life miserable for everyone else around him. I think a person would be justified in killing someone like that.
I do think you're all getting a little morbid.
The kind of a person I describe has no right to life. Of course, that's to say I would if I could do it without running my neck into a noose. Now, in my book, I'm working on a very pretty murder. Quite my masterpiece, I think.
Well, he's darn close about it. Locked doors, sealed lips and all that. Of course, he says he's writing a thriller, but we've no proof, have we? I think you ought to show us the manuscript, Felix. Don't you, Lena?
I can't. I'm sorry. I hate anyone to see an unfinished manuscript of mine. I'm funny that way.
Oh, Felix, please, get it and read some of it. Come on, don't be a spoil sport.
I'll go and get it myself and read it out loud if the blushing author is too coy. By heaven, I'll go upstairs and fetch it now.
You'll do nothing of the sort. I forbid it. I will not have people snooping about among my manuscripts. That was close. After all, there is no book but this diary. I must keep it well hidden in my room. At last, I have my plan. It took a great deal of subtle taunting and persuasion, but it came off at last. George is going sailing with me this afternoon, and he can't swim. Drowning is very painful, they say, in the early stages. That's good, I'm glad. George's lungs bursting, the top of his head shrieking with pain, his hands scrabbling vainly to thrust against the giant weight of the water. But if I cannot kill George today on the open sea, with the wind in my favor and myself the undisputed master of the situation, if I fail today, then I will know that it is not my destiny to be a murderer, and I will make no further attempt on the life of George Rattery. And that, Inspector Blunt, is the last entry in my diary.
But you and George did go sailing, didn't you?
Yes, it was after lunch on the same day. We walked down to the docks together. George, as you can imagine, was rather clumsy about a boat, but it was only a few minutes after he clambered aboard that we were out in the main water, sailing free. George had his feet braced against the centerboard case and his hands gripped the gunwale. Squall was coming up.
Motor barge is getting very close, isn't it?
There'll be plenty of room, George. Power vessels have to give way to sailing vessels, you know.
Give way? How do you think about that size is going to give way to a crate like this? Hey there, what are you up to? Look out, I tell you, you can't. What if you run into us? I'll bloody well hang on to your leg and we're both drowned. What are you doing?
What? A bit close, but perfectly safe.
Perfectly safe. That barge didn't miss us by a yard.
The same thing happened the other day when I was out with Phil. He didn't lose his nerve.
Oh, he didn't, eh?
By the way, you better not stand up in the boat again. That's one thing that's not safe.
Very well, my friend. But I shouldn't try any of those funny tricks you've been planning.
Tricks? What tricks?
You know what I mean, you filthy sneak. I searched your room just before lunch, and I found your diary. Yes, I posted that precious diary of yours up to my solicitor just before I came out here. Posted it, mind you, just before we went sailing. So you see, it'll be most unfortunate for you if you let me drown. Well, what's the matter? Lost your lying tongue, have you? I ought to break your jaw for you. I've a good mind to hand over your diary to the police.
Don't be silly. You know perfectly well you won't do anything of the kind. And for the very good reason that you don't want the police to haul you in on a charge of manslaughter for killing my son.
Well, you can't prove I ran over your son.
Aren't you forgetting that Lena was with you that night? The police will get a confession out of her in no time.
Why, you, if ever I see you again after today, you slug, I'll bash you into a jelly.
Oh, shut up, George. I guess we've both been a little too clever. It looks like a stalemate. I docked the boat and George stormed off the minute we landed. I came straight here to the inn.
Yes, I know.
Perhaps it's just as well I didn't succeed. Going back to writing detective stories after committing the perfect crime would be like going back to playing with tin soldiers after winning the Battle of Waterloo.
You seem to be awfully sure of your alibi.
Well, after all, there's no crime in planning a murder, is there? Providing nobody's hurt?
Unfortunately, somebody has been hurt.
What do you mean? What are you trying to tell me?
George Rattery died yesterday evening of the effects of strychnine poisoning.
George dead. Strychnine poisoning. All my planning, all my high and tragic purpose, and the beast ends by taking his own life. Poison. I remember now. He used to talk about suicide quite a lot. But I thought he only did it because the subject was so upsetting to his wife. I never dreamed. How did he take it?
With his tonic. But it couldn't possibly have been suicide, Mr. Lane.
But who? What else could it have been?
It could have been murder. Unfortunately, we have no evidence except this diary of yours.
But the bottle, the tonic.
George Rattery died almost instantly after taking his tonic at dinner. But before the doctor arrived, that bottle disappeared.
Well, any suspects?
Every person closely associated with George Rattery had enough motive to murder him. But you had the strongest motive. After all, George Rattery did kill your son.
Am I under arrest?
Not officially as yet. But naturally, I posted a guard outside your room. In the meantime...
But, man, you can't go in there. He told us.
Officer, let me by. I tell you, I've got to see Inspector Blunt. Please, Mother. I say it's no good. Be quiet, Phil. Why couldn't you have stayed at home? Officer, let me by. I must see.
Now, let them come in, officer. Good afternoon, Mrs. Rattery. Phil?
Hello, Phil.
Hello, Felix. Please. Please, I can't stand it any longer. They're accusing Felix here of murdering my husband. He had nothing to do with it.
Said she doesn't know what she's saying.
Oh, for heaven's sake, Phil, will you be quiet? It was I who killed George. He treated me very badly. He was unspeakable to Phil. There was another woman. Oh, I can't go on.
Are you trying to tell me, Mrs. Rattery, that you gave your husband poison?
Yes. Mother. I tell you, I poisoned him.
Where did you get the poison, Mrs. Rattery?
I bought it at that chemist shop.
What chemist shop?
The one on Abbey Lane, near the corner of Hightowers. That's it.
Uh-huh. What became of the bottle of tonic after your husband's death?
I broke it. I buried it.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Rattery. The police have checked. You didn't buy any poison at the chemist's.
Mother, I told you it was no good. Sir, Mother is trying to save me. It was I, sir. I killed him.
What? Phil, you don't.
Don't believe him. Don't believe him. He's just a foolish child. He doesn't know what he's saying.
Go on, Phil.
Well, you see, sir, I left a note. I was running away, but Mother found the note before I quite got out the door. Oh, boys get such strange ideas. He couldn't have done it. He's just a boy. You know he couldn't. You see, sir, when they accused Felix here, I couldn't stand it any longer. That's why I wrote you the note that Mother found at first. She said if she confessed that they wouldn't do much to her, the police would understand. Felix, make them believe me. I can prove I did it.
Now, go on, Phil. You say you can prove it. What do you mean?
I have it here in my pocket, sir. I've had it hid ever since. So see, here it is. It's still half full. It's Dad's bottle of tonic.
Phil, where did you get that?
I took it off the buffet after the doctor said Dad was dead.
But this is very serious, Phil. You know that.
He's lying. He couldn't have. He's just a little boy.
Please, all of you, I have a favor to ask. Let me talk to Phil alone for a few minutes. Won't hurt anything. I think I may be able to help solve this whole thing. Phil didn't do it. Violet's right.
Yes, but the bottle...
Just give Phil and me 10 minutes alone.
Very well. We'll wait outside. 10 minutes, mind you, Phil. No more.
Come here, Phil.
I'm a murderer, Felix.
You are not a murderer, Phil. No one could ever tell me that.
I left a note.
We've gone all over that.
I killed him. He beat Mother. I killed him, I tell you.
Stop that, Phil. I know better.
They thought you did it, Felix. I heard them talking about your diary. You wanted to kill him. You said so in your diary.
Maybe I did, but...
They'd hang you, Felix.
So that's why you wrote the note and pretended you did it?
Yes, I saw you in the pantry with Dad's bottle of tonic before you went for the sale with him.
You saw me? Oh, I'm sorry, Phil. Sorry you saw me. Naturally, you jumped to the conclusion that I... Oh, poor little man. Oh, there's nothing for you to worry about now, Phil.
You mean they're not going to hang you, Felix?
They're not going to hang me.
You won't let them do anything to you? Promise me.
No, I won't let them do anything to me. But, Phil, there are other things for you to think about now. Now that your father's gone, you are head of the house. That's a man's job, Phil. There's a lot you've learned about courage these last few days. Living takes a lot of courage. This is pretty grown-up talk, Phil. Do you understand me?
I'm trying, Felix.
You remind me a lot of my own son.
You mean the boy my father ran?
That's right, Phil. Yes, you're a lot like him.
Would he have gone sailing with us?
Oh, yes. I think Ronnie would have been quite a sailor.
Can we go sailing tomorrow, Felix?
Not tomorrow, Phil.
Are you going away, Felix?
Yes, but not as far as most people might think.
You sound very strange, Felix.
I have a note to write. Got to make everything shipshape. You go on out to your mother and tell them they may join me in a few minutes.
Can't I wait, Felix?
No, Phil. Go ahead now.
But
Those are orders. Skipper's orders.
Aye, sir.
Goodbye, son. I thought I'd made the last entry in this diary, but there will have to be one more. This diary was kept for only one purpose: to make George and the police believe that I planned to kill the beast by drowning him. Death was already waiting for George Rattery at home in the bottle of his tonic, where I had placed 3 pellets of rat poison taken by me from the garage. My plan was almost perfect. The only thing I didn't expect was that someone loved me enough to try to destroy the evidence I had so carefully planted in an effort to help me, and even to confess to my crime in order to save my skin. I know now that my life ended with the death of my son, Ronnie. It seems that I must have just come back to life for a few weeks to save Phil. Yes, I killed George Rattery. I have no regrets. I might have known that the matter would be taken care of fittingly. It says in the Bible, the beast must die, but the man dieth also. Yea, they both must die. George was right about that tonic of his. It is very bitter.
And so closes The Beast Must Die, starring Herbert Marshall. Tonight's tale of Suspense. Suspense is produced and directed by William Spear.
Have you discovered the age-old secret of famous chefs and lovers of fine food? Namely, how good wine makes even the simplest, most inexpensive meals really exciting events? How Roma wines perform flavor miracles in bringing out rich, new savoriness? Well, the next time you cook any of the red meats, stews, fish, or poultry, add a generous portion of any Roma California table wine, delicious Sauterne, hearty Burgundy, or tasty claret. Then put the same bottle well chilled on the table with your meal. You will be amazed at the wonders Roma wine performs in bringing out all the appetizing goodness of even the simplest foods. Remember, Roma wines, these marvelous aids to greater enjoyment of daily meals, cost only pennies a glassful. So any home can afford the pleasure they give to everyday living. Ask for ROMA, Roma wines, America's largest selling wines, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world.
This is Herbert Marshall, and at the request of the United States Army, I'm addressing this to every soldier listening. Volunteers are once more being accepted for immediate training by the parachute troops. Paratroopers receive $50 extra per month in base pay. Officers get $100 extra per month. If you think you can qualify for the paratroops, apply to your company commander immediately.
Mr. Marshall appeared through the courtesy of Metro Goldwyn Mayer, producers of White Cliffs of Dover. Next Thursday, same time, you will hear Mr. Peter Lorre with Richard Conte as stars of Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines, ROMA, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
I'm gonna kill a man. I don't know his name. I don't know where he lives. I have no idea what he looks like. But I'm gonna find him and kill him. Did you like today's story? When I listen to one like this, I like to put myself in the place of the main character. What would I do? I can safely say that I would not go to murder, but I do know that I would want justice done. The novel upon which this episode is based is on the list of the top 1,000 novels everyone should read. The book is the 4th in the series featuring the detective Nigel Strangeways, but in this radio adaptation, his character has been entirely removed from the story, leaving the focus upon the main character. My guess is this was done to help condense the novel into a 30-minute running time. Suspense did this quite often so that the story remains strong and well-balanced. As adaptations go, it's hard for me to know how well they did, having not read the original book by Cecil Day Lewis. I do know that a couple twists there at the end threw me completely. To that I say, well done, Suspense.
And now, a moment in time.
The date is December 7th, 1941. The U.S. mainland has just been informed of the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and the country is scared. Government officials are trying to figure out what they should do next. Precautions were taken those first few nights, especially along the west coast of the United States. What you're about to hear is the actual broadcast from that night explaining to the people around Seattle what they need to do.
In the first place, there will be no radio broadcasting tonight after 7 o'clock, except perhaps for one of the Seattle stations, which will probably be KIRO. Leave your dial tuned to KIRO and you'll get the information that is necessary. There will be no programs broadcast, but any information necessary for the civilian populace will be broadcast over KIRO probably. There will be a complete blackout tonight at 11 o'clock. That blackout is not only for the city of Seattle, it includes every light between the California border, or rather the Mexican border, and the Canadian border. That is in the states of Oregon, Washington, and California. Every farmhouse, every light of any kind in that area must be out by 11 o'clock. To test your blackout, you will have plenty of time between the hours of 7 and 11, between now and 11 o'clock, to make arrangements to get heavy black paper to seal your windows, or heavy drapes or something, and by going outside with your lights on, you can check before the hour set to see that you are completely blacked out. If you're unable to find materials and so forth to make your windows completely sealed so that no light will leak out, you must have your lights off. However, do not pull main switches. As we told you, ordinary window shades are not sufficient to black out your lights. Do not pull the main switches, however. Just use the switches on in the rooms and on the lamps. No lights are to be used on automobiles, and no lights whatever are to be shown anywhere on the Pacific Coast, the states of Oregon, Washington, and California until 30 minutes after daylight. From 11 o'clock tonight until 30 minutes after daylight tomorrow morning. Employers should arrange, if possible, that employees do not have to leave residences until after daylight. And, of course, in all probability, all buses, streetcars, and public transportations, vehicles within the city will be off after 11 o'clock tonight. There will be no bus service between 11 o'clock tonight and 30 minutes after daylight tomorrow morning. It's advised that all persons remain indoors during the blackout, except those who have legitimate business and who are concerned in the air raid precautions and so forth, who have legitimate business outside the regular blackout. Maury, did you have something to say?
Just to add to what you've said, Jack, is this. Please do not use the telephone more than necessary because you do block the lines of communication. We must keep them clean. Do not call your radio stations or your other sources of information. Regarding the blackout, it has been ordered. Therefore, we must take it in the best faith that we possibly can. Remain calm. Stay in your home. You can leave your radio on and get all the information that you need to from KIRO. But please do not use the telephone more than necessary because you do block the lines of communication. We must keep them clean. And here's another bulletin handed me. All traffic signal blackout crew, of which there are approximately 300 members, report immediately to J.W. Belong, traffic engineer at 400 County City Building. And now, by authority of the Federal Communications Commission, KIRO transmits on a frequency of 710 kilocycles with its new power of 50,000 watts. It's almost 7 o'clock, 5 seconds to go, and we'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, with information when ordered by the United States Army Interceptor Command here in Seattle.
As read by. Amazing stories read by amazing people.
This time on As Read By, we have a story sent in by Angelo Garcia. Angelo is originally from the Philippines in a province called Nueva Vizcaya, or in English, nbsp. His story is called Ghost Watcher, and it is read by me. To start with, I would like everyone to know that I'm the type of person who would look for a rational explanation on everything. Not that I'm a skeptic or anything, but as someone that has 2 degrees under their belt, not bragging, just making a point, I believe finding answers as to why things happen the way they do is all part of being rational and scientific. I work somewhere in the Middle East. Currently, the kingdom of where I am is in the depths of a recession. We don't have many projects as of now, so we're left with little to do. Boredom strikes me often, and fortunately, I chanced upon this podcast while searching for some things related to horror stories. Being a fan of horror myself, I find it entertaining to hear such stories of such. What I find peculiar and even funny is that some of the stories here do not differ from the things I have experienced myself. Having heard the tales from different people in the past weeks, it made me decide to share my own experiences, starting with this incident from my childhood. I can't quite remember when this did happen exactly, but I think it was sometime in the late 1990s. My siblings and I grew up in a town in the province of Nueva Vizcaya in the Philippines. It isn't like most towns in the Philippines because it's urbanized to some extent. We have huge establishments back in my hometown, but that doesn't change the fact that the province is still largely rural. Having said that, stories of superstitions and the like are still unquestionably existing. Gadgets weren't as prolific as they are now, so we had to rely on outdoor activities during the daytime and watch TV at night to keep ourselves entertaining, meaning our television back then was abused to the point that our remote control gave up on us. This particular night was nothing out of the ordinary, or so we thought. I was watching television with 3 of my 5 siblings around 9 in the evening when we decided to switch channels. Our television back then was a Sony Trinitron, not the flat screen type, but the one with the huge box behind the screen. Since the remote control wasn't working, we had to use the button on the TV to change the channels or control the volume. Being the kids that we were, we kept on switching channels and arguing what show to watch. That is, until the buttons gave up on it as well. They had sunken in. Afraid that our mom would find out and get mad at us, we decided to fix it ourselves. We unplugged the TV, fearful that we might get an electric shock while trying to fix the buttons, then removed it from the stand and placed it on the floor. 4 of us were seated on the floor surrounding the huge lump of old technology. Just as we finished laughing at a certain joke one of us cracked up, I suddenly heard someone giggle. It was the tiniest high-pitched, if that's even a term, voice I'd ever heard. I thought I was just hearing things when my younger sister said, "May Nikitawa," meaning someone laughed with us. To which I answered, "O Naga Nirinku." Yes, I heard it. Our younger brother then said, "Aku din." Me too. We had just begun to discuss it when the voice clearly said, in Pagnesian,
"Will the TV be fixed soon?"
We weren't really frightened by what happened. I don't know why. Maybe it was because we were too young back then, or maybe because we didn't feel anything negative about who or what laughed with us that night. What I am sure of is that it didn't come from the television itself because it was unplugged. It wasn't from anywhere in the house because we were the only ones awake at that time, and it certainly wasn't one of my siblings because the sound was right in the middle of our huddle. And it was, well, different, almost non-human. Well, my apologies to Angelo. I'm sure I butchered the spoken words in that story. I always think I should just say the English versions. I like to keep things as they are sent to me. As stories go, this one didn't send me scurrying into the night. but what I like about it is the truly random nature of it. My thanks to Angelo for sharing it with us. If you have a story you want to share with Ron's Amazing Stories, please just do it. You can use the contact page on the main website or just send it to ronsamazingstories@gmail.com. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. I encourage you to go read this week's blog. We talk about stories and the fine arts, and I would love to hear your comments on what I have said. If you want to keep up with what's happening on Ron's Amazing Stories, please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or sign up for the weekly newsletter. All the links you'll need and access to the blog can be found at ronsamazingstories.com. Thank you for listening, and I hope you come again to find out what are Ron's Amazing Stories.
All of the vintage audio used in the podcast is believed to be in the public domain. Ron's Amazing Stories does not own the rights to any of the old-time radio used here. If you hold the rights to any of the shows played, please contact us immediately at ronsamazingstories.com.